In a recent interview with the LAD Bible, the head of Sonic the Hedgehog, Takashi Iizuka, had some very interesting words to say about the Sonic movie. Let's discuss what he said right now.
I got hot sauce in my bag, swag.
A quick shout out to Green Shell 123. This is the fan art that they drew for me, and I gotta say, I'm loving the very bubbly texture that this one has. It really reminds me of something. I just can't remember what it is, but I really do love the style to this one. Metal Duckles just looks so adorable. I love it. So thank you so much to Green Shell. I really appreciate this. Anyway, hello there beautiful human, my name is RidersDX and welcome to my channel, where today we've got yet another video on the Sonic movie. Yes, I know that I'm milking this topic to no end, but you know what? It's very interesting to talk about and lots of people want to talk about, so let's keep it going until the topic just kind of tires itself out. But what I'm coming with you today is a quote from Takashi Iizuka, who is the head of the Sonic the Hedgehog series, who has made some comments regarding the Sonic movie recently and what Sega's role is exactly with the movie. And so I think this is very interesting because there's been a lot of questions going on about how much involvement Sega has had in terms of the movie's development, when Paramount is obviously the one who are pioneering this movie, as you might say. And so this quote comes from an article that LAD Bible wrote, and there's actually a lot of really interesting things Takashi talks about in this article, not just the Sonic movie, but a lot of things pertaining to Sonic in general. So I definitely recommend you go check it out. You want to read a little bit more about what he thinks of Team Sonic Racing and the future of Sonic, and some of his thoughts on some of the more poorly received Sonic games, such as Sonic Boom. And so yeah, this is a really interesting article. I definitely recommend you go check it out if you're interested in that. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to point your attention to where he starts talking about the Sonic movie. So here's the excerpt that I got out of the article. And on the movie, which will star Jim Carrey as the Hedgehog's longtime nemesis Dr. Robotnik, and Parks and Recreation's Ben Schwartz as the voice of a CGI'd Sonic, Iizuka-san is clear that he's across fan feedback and is relaying what he hears to its director Jeff Fowler and producers. It's not a Sonic movie. We're not making it or anything, and I'm only an advisor really, but I do get shown things and the movie team asks for my opinion. I'm also listening to what the fans are saying, and I'll feed that back to the director. He and the producers are very interested in receiving that feedback. At the end of the day, it's up to the team at Paramount to make something successful, but we're all looking forward to seeing the finished movie. Alright, so this kind of confirms what I've been talking about in some of my previous videos before, in terms that Sega is trying their best to distance themselves from this movie, and they're kind of making it seem like there's not a lot of input that's being taken seriously on their side, at least. Because, you know, if people were receiving this movie pretty well, then I don't think Sega would make it so clear that they weren't a part of it, you know? You would want there to be at least the image of there being a unity between the movie studio and the game studio, because that makes for a good press, you know, and it makes for people to expect a good movie if people feel like that the gaming company has a big hand in terms of how the movie is being produced. I mean, you can kind of turn to Detective Pikachu, for example, where there's been a lot of stuff going out there about how the movie producers worked very closely with Nintendo and took a lot of time in shaping the CGI that they developed for that movie. But that doesn't really seem like that's the case over here. I mean, I'm sure they took a lot of time to develop Sonic, don't get me wrong. I know that they didn't just cheaply make this movie. This movie looks like it's got a pretty decent budget behind it, but it doesn't seem like Sega's notes, at least, seem to have been taken into account and kind of implemented in this design for the most part. It seems like Paramount is taking its own creative direction with it and just kind of seeing what they feel like is going to make the most successful movie. And obviously that has had some positive things, but also a lot of negative things. Let's be perfectly honest, the reception to this movie design is pretty horrible, but that's just how it is. And I think that's why Sega is making it very clear that they're not a part of what's going on in the movie. They are just pretty much seen as advisors, and all they can do is just relay the feedback that they're getting from people back to the movie studios, as if the movie studio isn't already aware of what the feedback of this movie is. I'm sure they don't need Sega's help to kind of understand what fans are feeling about this movie design. But I digress. This just overall shows a continuing trend in how Sega is approaching pushing its stance with this movie. And you know, it kind of does suck that that's the way that it has to be, because like I said before, the perfect scenario is to have the gaming studio and the movie studio both completely on the same page in terms of how this movie is being made and the creative decisions being made with it, but that's definitely not the case here. And so I'm glad that Takashi Iizuka is at least making it seem like they're still supportive of the movie. He's just making it very clear that Sega themselves do not have any say in terms of how this movie ultimately gets made. I mean, they can provide as much feedback as they want, but ultimately it is Paramount's final decision in terms of how this movie turns out. And so yeah, I think that in the beginning when they were making this movie, what I imagined happening was the fact that Paramount was like, okay, I know this is what Sega thinks, especially with like the eyes in particular. I remember that the eyes were a specific point that was pointed out in one of the initial interviews about this movie, but I can imagine Paramount kind of thinking that like, okay, this is what Sega is thinking, but we've been in the movie business for way longer than Sega has ever been, and so I think we can kind of trust our judgment more and assume that people will like this particular design of Sonic more than what Sega is saying. To be honest, obviously they were wrong. I mean, it's true Paramount has a lot of experience in how to create movies, but Sega obviously knows Sonic the Hedgehog very well, and they have a lot of experience with the fan base in particular. So I think that like Sega definitely knew better in terms of how the public was going to receive this design, but now it seems like Paramount is trying to take some of the constructive criticism, you know, as constructive as it could be, into account, and we are going to see some kind of redesign in the near future, so that'll be very interesting to see. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this video. There's really not much else I can really say about Takashi Iizuka's comments. I mean, he pretty much said exactly what I was expecting him to say, and yeah, let me know in the comment section below what you think about his comments. Do you think it's good that Sega's trying to distance himself from the movie, or do you think Sega should take a more involved stance in terms of this movie? Like, do you think that Sega should be supporting this movie more, even if they don't agree with what's going on with it? Let me know that in the comment section below. Okay, please give this video a thumbs up if you like it, subscribe to my channel if you like videos like these, want to see more in the future, follow me on Twitter or Twitch, or join my Discord server, the Spongy Garden. Now this is Riders, riding out. Shout out to my Patreon supporters, Reese Gaming and Barry the Strawberry. If you would like to become a patron, then please take a look at the link in the description box below and take a look at what perks you could get. Thank you so much.